You've got an agenda in front of you. You have, you'll see that tonight we will elect a chair and a vice chair. If you had time to peruse through the charter, there's a bit of information in there about that. But if you didn't have time to look through the charter, there's still a copy of it here for you tonight. So there's that. I apologize that we don't have notebooks for you tonight. That was an afterthought. You shall have them when we come back together in January, I promise, because I have a feeling that they're going to get very thick with lots of reports and good stuff. So you will have those. What else do I want you to know tonight? Can I just ask how many of you were on the previous Bond Oversight Committee? Oh, let me back that up and clarify. The first one, right, right.
Yeah.
Oh, Bill
It's a long
was,
time
Tommy.
We have 1.5. We have Bill.
Okay.
I think we were,
So, I was the chair. I can't.
no, there were so many committees.
Okay, it's been a while. It's been a while. I asked because I'm just interested in knowing that, but also we looked to see if there was a charter from the previous oversight committee and we couldn't find one. So
I don't think.
I just putting that out there tonight. That made me feel even better that we have one tonight because we have a lot of expertise in the room and charters help us all to agree and understand where we can use our expertise the most efficiently. So I will be starting with 15, 20-minute presentation, and then I will be turning this over to Megan Rett from OTAC, who will be sharing information with you about their role, OTAC's role in owners representation, and then sharing also some information about project delivery methods, all right? So I would like to start, if my computer allows me at some point, even though I keep pressing the button. There we go. Tonight, understand some very basics about committee work, the purpose, what our practices are going to be, what our responsibilities are going to be, get more specific about our roles and responsibilities, not just for us, but for all the stakeholders. What does this mean for the board? What does it mean for the committee? What does it mean for the project management firm? Understand the importance of a committee charter. And we did this in our last round of bond steering committee work, but I think it's really important to define success now because each of you may have a different vested interest in what success is for you and going through this process. So I want to hear from you. I'd love to start by knowing who's in the room, not just your name, but also how you're connected with the Mount Angel School District and why did you decide to sign up for this great commitment? And I'm happy to start. Rachel Stuckey, superintendent. And I've joined this committee, but in a different capacity than the rest of you because I will not be a voting member of this group, but I will be present in case people have questions that I might be able to clarify for you. And I've joined this committee because my word is my bond, and I gave a lot of promises and commitments to the community last winter and spring, and I want to see that come to fruition. Yeah. Sure.
Bill Schecker, so long-time resident, parent, and I kind of just get involved in everything. Because I care, I guess.
I'm sorry, I don't think we've met.
Pretty much, that's all we got.
Joe Fowl, how am I connected to the school district? I have 2 students in the district, and there is a particular board member that I'm very vested in. Won't put it that way. Yeah, it's Mark. Did he not tell you about it?
That was me.
And the reason I joined the committee, I've been a bond project manager for very, very large bonds. I've been an owner's rep for a very long time, and I still continue to manage a ton of publicly funded work in my everyday. So it kind of makes sense to try to help out.
One, Tommy Reedman. I had kids in the school district that graduated a while back. I've been on these committees before, so I kind of wanted to do it again, just get information and know what's going on. I got a construction background. I know quite a bit of the buildings and I might be able to help this man, but I'm on this service, so I'm here to do as much as possible.
Sorry, Lutz, Facilities Director, all in the same category with Rachel, where made a lot of promises to people. I'm sitting on the committee to make sure that the quality of work and the systems design are efficient for the faculty and students. I'm Jeff Wall. I went to school here. My kids went to school here. I was in construction for about 30 years, and I just retired. So I just spent time with a lot of large commercial projects. Actually worked on the fire system here quite a bit. Did HVAC before that, so I have a little experience in construction.
I'm John Dooley. I kind of like Bill, involved a lot of stuff around Mount Angel, which is great. You know, I enjoyed it. I'm actually the school budget chairman, I guess, for the budget committee. And I've been in the lumber business, building business for over 48 years now. And so I know quite a bit about the building industry, and I thought that I could help out. I was part of the, I guess, the bond, when we started working on the bond stuff, so we kind of done that a little bit, so you know, I can help out, fine, that's great, or just, you know, whatever I can do, just like Tony says, you know, we're here to help, so.
Teresa Kincaid, I went through all these schools, my kid went through schools. I taught here for 25 years and I'm on the school board now, for my second term. And I was on the bond committee also, and I just feel it's very important to be involved, and it's nice to have a school board person on this oversight committee too.
I'm Erin Hart. I am a teacher at the middle school. I have a sixth grader and a freshman. I wanted to be on this committee because it's such important work. I don't have any experience in building things, which is awesome, but I have the perspective of being in our school buildings every day and seeing the work that needs to be done. So I'm excited to help any way that I can.
I'm Brianne Simpson. I work in the high school office. I'm with Erin. I work in the buildings. And good job. I don't know for showing up. Christy's email is what brought me here.
Yeah. I'm Jessica Brendan, and I'm the high school principal. I have several connections to the school district, also with my kids and my spouse being on the school board, and really love the job. And I want to be on this committee to be an admin rep, and then just to see how the decisions are made and offer my perspective as leader of one of the schools. Maybe never, we sort of skipped over.
Oh, I have a full board.
Oh, okay.
Unless you want
Okay.
to. Okay, sure. Just briefly, I'm Megan Radcliffe, the project manager for these projects. And part of why we applied for this position with our process is just our extensive experience with launch program management, especially in K-12. And a little bit about me, I come from a construction background. I used to work for a general contractor, also subcontractors, and recently made the switch over to Oversight and loving it. I've done a lot of schools with the Salem Kaiser School District. So that's what supported my community.
We have one more person over here.
Christy Brackenreed, I'm the business manager. I will say to the employees that are here, your input, the reason why we asked you to be on this group is obviously not for construction experience, but for something even more important. You live in these buildings more than you are probably in your houses. And we want, you know, this to be something that you guys love and that you know your students will love and your families will love. So you guys are very important. I have a kid in the district and I work here.
Thank you. Thanks. Just so you know, tonight's meeting and all future meetings are subject to Oregon Public Meeting Law and are being recorded, and we will put those online. We also will always have agendas, and we will also have minutes, and we will post those as well. So I didn't want anyone to be surprised if a neighbor came up later and said, hey, I've got nothing to do but look at the district website and I saw you on a recording.
I would have given a better
You
speech.
just never know. You
No,
just
you can
never.
only people text us from the city council minutes get posted.
Oversight Committee. Quick overview, the purpose is really about these three words that I put in blue: accountability, transparency, and trust. You are the stewards of that. And we've been authorized to be advisory with some directional decisions, providing periodic updates, subject to open meetings, and always having agendas and minutes posted. Our tasks or practices are to review progress, spending, and schedules, meet using a common agenda, as well as describing progress by taking minutes, and to make recommendations to inform decisions that are made by the superintendent and or the board. For all meetings, please these things: participate in regularly scheduled meetings, review materials prior to meetings when you can, and come prepared for engaged discussion, active listening, and respectful dialogue. Serve as a champion, be vocal, be invested in the success of the bond projects and also of the committee itself. This one is really important to me, that you please apply an understanding and appreciation of district capacity, our own staffing. We're a smaller district, and therefore we might see things in a different perspective than maybe a larger school district. Megan had talked about Salem-Kaiser. We are not a Salem-Kaiser. We have a totally different mechanism and system set up, but also to have an understanding of the complexities that are involved in project management. Have realistic expectations. And this last one, use data and facts, not intentions, to inform recommendations and decision-making. And what I mean by that is sometimes we can be really drawn to make a decision based on our heart without looking at what data and facts tell us. I have to remind our staff of this all the time. And so it's just important to keep going back to what we know and what the numbers tell us, what the reality and the facts tell us. Those sound like things you can do?
Sure.
Right on. Okay. So this slide is about what we call a RACI matrix, and some of you might be familiar with what this is. The committee's roles and responsibilities for decisions, tasks, and or milestones that will take place throughout the bond projects are outlined in a RACI matrix. RACI stands for responsible, accountable, consult, and inform. And this is a way of taking a chart, looking at all of the tasks that are broken down during this huge project, and who's in charge of what. What will this committee be responsible for? What will you be accountable for? What will you be informed about? And what are things that you'll be able to consult on? And you will find our actual general and specific RACI matrices in the back of your charter tonight. So that's there for you. So you'll know right off the bat who's doing what and when and why now. Okay? How does that sound? Yeah? So last May 2nd, I gave a presentation to the community, and this was something that I had put in my presentation. Expect bond oversight committee members to vote on and authorize changes to proposed projects and costs when budget conflicts arise. Well, what exactly does that mean? So this is something that we will continue to grow and grapple with, but for tonight, I have an example of what that is and a non-example. So here's an example. Maybe we find that there are insufficient funds to replace all of the old windows at JFK. So the committee will reduce or eliminate another scope to ensure all old windows are replaced. So that will be a decision that you make. Here would be a non-example. When replacing the old windows, mold is discovered and contingency funds are used for abatement without the input of the committee. So you wouldn't need to decide on that, right? And you'll see as you look through the charter, there are a lot of other things that you won't necessarily be deciding on.
Joe, I just wanted to back up a second.
Please.
We flew by what contingency funds are.
Okay,
And so I just thought we should take 2 seconds and explain that all of our numbers had a percentage on them that was contingency as well as soft costs. Just, I just caught the term and I wanted to make sure that we talked about what that was real quick.
thank you for doing that. And I'll be honest with you, right now tonight, I don't remember the percentage that we had put aside, but it was a pretty healthy percentage, as
It
I
was about 15%.
okay.
15 or 16%, it was whatever the state kind of told us we were supposed to do. But it's essentially all the projects, there's how much to do it, and then there's the additional soft costs on top of it. And part of that is the contingency, which is the safety barrier for the unforeseens. And so that's what she's saying, it's as long as we did, if they never go over that 15% overage, it would never show up. Right?
Thank you. I want to spend a few minutes talking about the charter, especially since there may not have been one the last go around. The charter for our school district, for our bond oversight committee, includes an overview, our authorization, our authority, our membership, meetings, decision-making, duties and responsibilities, and what our limitations are as well. So you will find that in the charter. I'm not going to go line by line through that tonight. It might be a good thing for you to read if you can't fall asleep at night, or it could be something that you want to read at a relaxing time, but it's there for you. And a charter is very, very important, and I had mentioned this a handful of minutes ago. There is a great deal of expertise in this room. And so having a charter is really important. There is a lot of passion and love for this community in the room. That's another reason to have a charter. It gives us clarity. It provides understanding for us and gives direction, but it also provides clarity and direction and understanding for everyone else who's not on the committee, because we will be putting this on the website and we want to make sure people know what the roles and responsibilities are. A charter is a great way of acknowledging, especially through a RACI matrix, that everyone has something to contribute and to acknowledge that that was your role and that was your part. Great for problem solving. And I have to anticipate that there will be some problem solving with this group and achieving desired outcomes for sure. Whoops. So what I'd like you to do is think about how you're going to know for you personally that this is a success. And you can, if you want, you can just write it on the back of your agenda. But if you would take a few moments to write down your thoughts, how are you defining success for this bond and all of the projects that are encompassed in it? I think I have time to do that. I wasn't sure if I did. No, I can do it. You may have one or two, you may have many. Still see a little bit more writing, give it a bit more time. Who's willing to share? Joe.
So I don't remember everything we said in the previous meetings, but I know, like you said, we had defined success before. And this, one of the many people in this room that went out and made a lot of promises in this town. One of the things was this should be essentially kind of an easy bond to show success as far as checking boxes. So my number one thing is we check the boxes. We have a pretty succinct list of promises. Again, some are hard and some are kind of soft. But check the boxes of the promises. From that, I put a satisfied majority. Because we know that we won't hit 100% satisfaction in town. And the majority is not only the community, but the staff as well. I want the staff to walk away. One of the things that we have at the forestry department is dilapidated facilities, and it becomes a recruiting issue. And I don't want it to get to that point for the school district. Reduced operation times and costs. So less things on Marty's list and less things out of Marty's budget. And as someone who will probably still be here in 10 years and still have kids in the district in 10 years, the ability to pass the necessary future bonds.
Thank you. Who else?
I put it that, at the end of the bond, I would like to see a noticeable positive impact on the buildings for function and for staff function as well. Just a noticeable improvement.
Thank you.
Also, I put, like to achieve a positive outcome from the public on the way we spend it on. To achieve those things.
Thanks. John?
Well, I added a little bit, we talked about so many things, that is needed. I just wrote down, what we want to do and get what is truly needed. We really see something, we want to really work hard to make sure that we get that accomplished. And without, cutting any corners, we have to go to a cheaper product or cheaper material that doesn't last as long, that doesn't ever work in the long run. Obviously, it's staying on budget.
Thank you.
I'll piggyback on what John was saying. Down quality of products, efficiency of systems and controls. Of course, on time scheduling, especially beginning of the school year, impacts the construction may have on events that we have not only during the summer, for instance, summer school, things of that nature, but also on budget.
Thanks. My list looks really similar, just not as worded as well, but one thing that I put is that success looks to me that our students, and I'm gonna pull an old phrase out here, our students are warm and safe and dry in our buildings. Cool.
I just put the sentence at the beginning, which covers all this, that the projects will be completed within budget and at a high quality.
Okay.
So it kind of.
Megan, for me, it's really important, because I know it's important to you all in the community as well, that the entire process of these projects is very transparent. There's full visibility into who's activities, but also what we're doing, and so it's, I'll get into it, but as part of our goal, we're doing a lot of reporting. I'm sure you can start that. They're gonna get more of looking at, because it's a lot of chemical stuff. Some people like it, and so just, full transparency, so we continue to earn that trust.
Thank you. I heard bond committee members get first dibs on the hats to go through the facilities.
Yeah.
They came in our backpacks.
We do have safe.
Is that what that's for?
Yeah.
I did promise to demo the ticket booth for you. I did promise to demo that ticket booth if needed. No, especially for the staff in the room, I think one thing that should always be a goal is no lost contact. It's either because of construction or because of failing equipment, like, things are coming close to end of life. We want to get some of the things done quickly, like that's why the boiler at the middle school was prioritized. But no lost student contact days, both for the staff and for the parents that'll have to figure out what to do with their students that day.
No surprises.
Megan's was the one that I saw and was gonna chip in, but she said it much more eloquently than me. And I think if we do timely progress and stay on budget and talk about everything really clearly, that we'll have a community that is supportive and curious and wants to see what's been done at the end of it. So that is my success indicator, is that we have a supportive and curious community.
Anything else? It's a lot to live up to. We're gonna do it though. Thank you. I appreciate that. You may have a lot of questions. You're certainly welcome to ask them now, but they also might be related to Megan's presentation. Is there something from what I shared that I can clarify or attempt to answer for you?
Well, I just have one question, and
Sure.
it's the committee, I guess, limitations,
Yes.
and, it seems like, we're being asked to do some things, but not some other things, right? And so I'm looking at this, so take this that the person that we hired would do all of this stuff here, that they do this on their own, that we don't need to.
Or the district team.
Right, okay, so we don't
Right.
need to be involved with any of this stuff really, because we have nothing really to worry about that part of the construction side.
Yes.
Okay.
And just so you know, this charter, a lot of it was replicated from very standard school district charters, so this language for limitations is not uncommon. Thank you.
And if you ever have a question too about like what was handling this, then it just pops in your brain. And another thing we're gonna do, I'm just waiting for this on you guys, but we're gonna set up a smart sheet link for Q&A or for questions from the committee. Obviously we'll answer any questions that pop up, but sometimes it's nice, we're not gonna be, I promise you, we won't be able to answer every single question immediately, like on the spot. That's so if we have them in advance, then we can prep and come to the meetings for it. So if you have a question. Thank you. So turn it over to you. Cool. Okay, so like I said, my name is Megan, and the district hired us to be owners representatives, project managers for these projects that are coming up under the bond. The firm is their tax system. And we'll get into a little bit about us and what we do. So here's just kind of the overview of what we'll talk about well of a team. It's not just me, I'm here representing my team, our experience, and then a little bit about our department itself, our background, and then how we help districts with these kinds of programs, and then we'll do questions. So these are the rest of my team members. So Bob Collins, who's the senior project manager, program manager, me, project manager, and then Erica, the project coordinator. So a little bit about each of us. Bob Collins, he has a plethora of experience, a little over 45 years of experience in project construction management. He's going to be the, my guidance, and then also he's going to provide project oversight for the planning phase, the procurement phase, design, construction, and closeout. So he's who I go to when I don't know. So I have that resource to tap into. He's been the program manager for the Salem Kaiser School District Bond, the Reynolds School District Bond, and also Sheridan School District. And then me, I'm your primary project contact and the main person who interfaces with Angel and Misty and Marty to guide everybody through the design phase, construction phase, closeout phase, and change management processes. I've been in construction and project management for a little over 9 years now, and like I said, I came from that contractor background, and I've had experience on 10 schools so far. And then Erica Bierman, she's a project coordinator / detail master. She helps with coordinating and assisting me and Bob with everything. She is very, very detail oriented and using notes to keep us on track. So can't live without her. And she's been in project and construction management for a little over 10 years and has helped me out a lot with the Kaiser School District schools. And so about OTAC as a firm, so OTAC was founded in 1981 and has acquired a few different groups along the way. They started with mostly architects and engineers. And then most recently in 2017, OTAC acquired Day CPM, which is where the CPM part is still in our name, OTAC CPM. But some of you may know Day CPM, I'm not sure depending on your background. But I'm not going to try to pronounce all these names, but that's how OTAC is named, is after the founders. We're a multidisciplinary design firm, and we serve public and private sector clients, basically in the Western United States, but also a little bit internationally. And then here's a list of some of the different things that our company does as a whole. So by architecture, engineering, city planning, some federal stuff. We recently acquired a project control group as well, which they do scheduling and budget control. But that little circle up there, that PMCM owners rep, that's part of that basically. And that's where we come into play.
Oh,
Oh.
sorry.
No, okay, I forgot about that. So overall, there's about 300 of us, but within our PMCM group, so the OTAC CPM, I think we're keeping up to 75-ish or 50 or 75, somewhere in there. So we've got a bunch of other project managers too that we're bringing on. And so as the PMCM and owners representative, it's not only K-12 that we do, although those are usually our favorite clients. We love working with school districts. But we do other public work as well, private, healthcare, international, security projects. So a lot of different companies or clients hire ownerships. Let's face it, the school district, for example, you all have full-time jobs. Rachel, Mr. Marty have full-time jobs, and so you don't have the bandwidth to necessarily manage all these projects. So that's why we're here. So again, just some of the school districts that we've had experience with, and this chart just shows you to outline your experience and what you're trying to do. So we have experience with the Safe Born Die, other bonds that have tried to accomplish those same and largely been successful with accomplishing those same goals, and specifically HVAC programs and community outreach, etc. So some of the different school districts in the Pacific Northwest we have experience with. So then how do we help? So I say all that and I say, yeah, we take care of it, but what does that specifically mean? So right now, this is the phase we're in, is programming. So we're getting ready to go into design, we're almost there. But that upfront phase is about putting together a program budget in detail. You know, we have this $11 million figure. How does that break out? What does that look like? What are all the different little buckets that have to, that 38% soft cost, right? What needs to be out of that? And then same thing with the overall program schedule. Putting together a program management plan. You know, we had a charter with the school team, just like you have with as the oversight committee. And then helping us with the project schedule and delivery method selections. And then once we get into design, we'll be helping the team with architect and consultant selection, going through design review, and facilitating and managing that phase of the project. And then once we get a bid, you know, again, same thing with helping with contractor qualifications or contractor selections, the work process and the qualification review of the contractors that been on the projects. Once we get into construction, we'll be facilitating progress meetings with the design and construction teams. We'll be doing frequent observation reports on site and publishing those. We're responsible for quality assurance and quality control, making sure that we're getting a good quality product and that all of the documents are being followed. And then interfacing with the contractors and subcontractors. And then throughout that process, you know, we're tracking the budget, we're tracking the schedule, making sure the change orders that come in, we analyze those to make sure that they're valid and reject ones that aren't. And then with the schedule, making sure that any schedule delay claim that gets submitted is valid, and that the projects are staying on schedule. And then the water operations. So I mentioned, you know, I'll be reaching out to the community quite a bit, providing updates, doing walkthroughs with you all, providing tours of the projects that are happening. So that's how we help through all the different phases of construction. And then just in general, our role is to be a trusted guide. So it's important for us to make sure that the district and the community can make informed decisions throughout every stage of the project. We want to make sure that we're owner's advocates. So we're independent advocates. That's really important because ideally your design team, your construction team, they're on your team, they're on your side, right? But we're independent from all of that and we can help with really making sure that the district and the community's best interests are being taken into account every step of the way. We try to work to foresee the unforeseeable. So surprises come up, unexpected situations come up. But our approach is to be very proactive and try to think about all of the what ifs. Part of our role is looking at all angles. So we make sure that we're seeing every side of the coin, looking at it from, you know, the local business person's perspective to the admin that works in the front office. We're taking into account all of those positions when making decisions and advising on decisions. And alignment. So this part's really important, and Rachel touches on this with the committee to make sure that at the very beginning of the project stage, the goals of the district are crystal clear to every design team, contractor that gets selected, so that everybody's aligned at the very beginning and is on the same page to help set up all these projects for success. And then we come into this with servant leadership. So we really work hard to put the needs of the community, of the district, above our own, and we're here for you all. We're here as a service to you. So that's our forum. Any questions?
I have one question. You know, back on the architecture and the contractor. Do you guys go out, or do you have favorite architects that you work with that, you know, that have done more remodels and new construction? I mean, obviously you know those people. And then when it comes to the contracting side, and I watch the contractors exchange every weekend about the different builders getting the jobs.
Sure.
Would this go out and would you bid this through the public system where you have the plans for the spec book and give it to these 8 or 10 builders want to come and bid it? You just take a little bidder, or will you actually do it a different way? We actually negotiate the price with the builder, and then you can sit down and talk to them and all that.
That is a really great segue into the project delivery method conversation that we're gonna have. So that's perfect that you asked that. To go back though, this is a publicly funded project, so they're under obligation to be, you know, every project that we do, regardless of the delivery methods that we'll talk about here, they're advertised, and so they're fully available to anybody who can look up and see what the projects are. They're under prevailing wage, so they all have to follow the Woolly rates. And so, in short, to answer your question, some of the projects we are recommending to be hard bid, which means it would be the lowest bidder situation that you're talking about. There are other projects due to their nature that we're recommending to be under a different delivery method, which is called progressive design build. And in that circumstance, you select your design and your construction team based on their qualifications. Price does come into play a little bit, but it's mostly based on qualifications, experience with models, experience with HVAC systems, you know, quality of their work, et cetera. And then that team would be selected, so it's not necessarily just lowest price automatically gets it.
So, but you have one builder that would, you're not gonna try to have two different builders. I know that the hard bid stuff would all be part of the main builder's scope of work, or could it be?
Not
Could it
necessarily.
be two different contractors
Yes.
possibly?
Yeah, it could be multiple different contractors, so, and we're still working out with the Mountain Joe core team, exactly how everything's gonna get packaged as far as, you know, how many contractors will be a possibility. But there's definitely opportunity for more than one. It's not that one contractor is automatically gonna get all of the $1 million of the work. It doesn't make sense for it to work that way. Did that answer your question? And it might a
Pretty,
little bit.
pretty much. I guess I'm, you know, give me an example what would be a hard bid. What part of the project would be a hard bid, I guess?
Is it okay if I share? Yeah, okay. Just- And so again, these are not set in stone because we're still evaluating all of the different
Right, I get that.
components. But for instance, a hard bid project is really good if you have something that's very clearly defined and you know exactly what you want. And you can tell an architect, here's my preferred manufacturer. With public money, you have to provide at least 3 different options within your spec, within your specification, with the architect says. So let's say, for example, like a very clearly defined part of this project is replacing any door hardware that's not secure door hardware with secure door hardware. We know exactly what we want. Some of the doors already have good secure hardware. We're just doing that throughout the buildings to bring all of them up to speed, right? So we can tell an architect, okay, I want you to put together a design for replacing all the rest of these doors with lock sets that are secure. Here's my preferred brand, it's this Wage lock set, but they list, you know, a few other alternatives because you're required to. And so there's very little interpretation there, right? It's very much like for like. That's an example of a hard bid where we go out and say, okay, contractor, here's the project, lowest bidder is gonna get it because that's the best price. It's all gonna be pretty equivalent.
Those are great answers, yeah, because I kind of thought that a little bit, so good. Okay, good job.
Does Bob work for the district before? He looks familiar. That name sounds familiar.
Bob Collins,
Does he not?
I don't think he's worked for the district. I mean, he's been in project management for a very long time, like 45
Didn't do
years.
the other
We'll
one.
bring him.
No, he did
for
not.
You remember him or something, because he
He
does,
looks
yeah.
familiar.
He does, yeah.
We can talk to him.
Anyway. Has he been here before?
No,
Okay.
Okay. He'll answer that question. Let's go with this. I
okay,
think we got to talk to him.
yeah. Okay,
Right.
well, I really appreciate that question, because like I said, it sets me up really nicely for this. So, so the project delivery method, what that means is the way that, basically your architects and contractors are selected, and when, and how they're basically designing and fitting the project. So your traditional project delivery method is design, bid, build. Sometimes you're gonna hear this called hard bid, like what we were just talking about, hard bid project. It's a traditional method and it's named because there's 3 phases of the project basically. They have a design phase where they're bringing the design to a set of documents that's 100% complete in their mind, the architects. And they're saying, okay, this set of documents is ready to be published. And then that enters the bid phase, where then any contractor can go on the website and see this set of documents and put together a competitive bid saying, okay, that project's gonna cost me $2 million. And then they submit their pricing and say 3 contractors bid on it, and one comes in at 2.1, one comes in at 2.4, the other comes in at 1.9. The one that came in at 1.9 wins the project. There's a little bit of caveat there, like if they end up having a safety score that's abysmal, that's 5 people died on the project, so we can eliminate them, right? So there's a little bit of qualification we can do once everything's received, but traditionally, lowest price wins the plot, they get to then enter the construction phase. So under this method, first the school district would contract with an architect, and like I said, bring that design through a process of schematic design where it's kind of ideas, rough sketches, and then they'll go through design development where they fleshed out more, and then they issue a set of construction documents, and those are like supposed to be no questions are open to interpretation. In reality, there's always something to miss, right? And so change orders come into play and such, but basically then that package gets bid on, and like I said, lowest bidder takes the pot. So again, like I said, this is best if the owner knows exactly what they want. Like it's very, very clear cut. Hey, I've got these windows that need to be replaced, and just because I don't like gold anymore, whatever the case may be, or maybe there's a leak or something, but they know what the manufacturer is that they like. They know that they have very that they have a budget figure in mind that's very, very realistic. And they're saying, okay, replace these windows, that would be perfect. So here's kind of a timeline of what that process looks like, because you'll have, like I said, you'll have that design phase up front, then the bidding, and then the construction. It's very, very linear. Okay. So there are packages within this bond program that we're recommending that are going to be done this way. And then another method that we could use, and so there's also, so that's the traditional method, and then there's alternative procurement methods. And then there's other types of alternative procurement methods besides progressive design build, but through a lot of conversations with the district, we landed that this one is very ideal for this program. So it's an alternative project delivery method, but I do want to note that it's becoming really popular, and it's scheduled to make up almost half of the overall construction market share in the next couple of years. So it's just really gaining a lot of traction. In this one, it's a little bit different. So instead of having a contract with the architects and then also a contract with the contractors, there's one contract that's in place, and the contractors and the architects are under that same contract. So what this looks like sometimes is there's firms out there that are getting a bid, and they have architects and contractors working under their same company. And then there's other firms out there that then team up for this kind of projects, and will have 2 different firms that then they contract under, like a joint venture usually, to enter this kind of an agreement. And so how this works is, this is where you would have this qualification space selection. So you would issue a request for qualifications, and that's the first round of procurement, where you publish a statement. Again, anybody who has access to the DJC can do this, and it's published, and we say we're looking for a progressive design firm, please submit your qualifications, and they'll define like what qualifications you want to see in their statement. From there, you shortlist what firms that you want to move forward. And so, maybe some firm is trying, but they have 0 experience. Maybe you want to go with the firms that have multiple years, right? And so then the next step is, after you have your shortlist, then you're going to issue the request for proposal. And that's the more detailed breakout. So at that point, they're going to talk about their approach to progressive design build. They're going to talk about in detail their experience with the method, and then also with their experience as different firms for these types of projects. And I said price doesn't come into play, but it does, but it's a small component. So they will submit their price, and they usually submit separately from their technical qualifications or from their more quality-based qualifications. And during the scoring process with whoever is on the selection committee, you open and judge all of the qualifications-based components first. Once you have all that reported, then you open the pricing ones and then you rank them. So then the combined score, but usually it's a very small percentage of the overall score. And so the reason why this alternative procurement method we believe was great for this district is because this is a really good method for when you have a fixed budget in mind. Say you have $4 million and you have a broadly defined goal where you're like, I need I need all the air handlers in this unit to get upgraded and they need to be functioning better than they are. But you can't tell a design firm, this air handler needs these new components. This run of duct needs to be replaced and this run of duct needs to be insulated. Like you don't have that assessment done and you don't have very strictly defined like parameters, but you have a functional goal that you're trying to meet or a performance-based goal and you have a fixed budget and they have to get as much done with the most bang for your buck under that number. And then the next slide shows how it's a lot different than that linear process. So yeah, the next slide. So if you remember the design bid build is very linear. Design bid build. In progressive design build, we're going to tell this team, hey, we've got this amount of money. The contractor and the architect, again, they're on board at the exact same time. So the contractor is brought in very early and they start working together very collaboratively as a team to come up with a design for your goals. And they come to the owner repeatedly through the process and say, okay, here's our idea. We could do this, this, and this for this amount of money, or we can do this, this, and this for this amount of money. But they know your goals up front and they consistently come to you and say, make this decision, make this decision, make this decision based on what's valuable to the district. So it's kind of more of a cyclical process, and I wish there was a graphic out there. I might just have to make one that kind of shows that it's more of this like cyclical process until you get to the point where you say, okay, design is complete enough. These decisions on the way. We're going to issue a GMP, which is guaranteed maximum price. So they say, here's our value. We're not going to go over it. If they do go over it in construction, they eat that cost. The changes don't come to the district. And then they enter construction. Another great thing about this method is since they're already on board under contract, if they get partway through the design and say, oh, if we're going to replace this air handler, we need to order it 5 months before the work's going to happen. Can we proceed and order that now? And there's that opportunity. Versus in a hard bid situation, they bid the project, they get their notice to proceed for construction, and then they say, oh, sorry, the air handler's going to take 5 months for our second mission. So they have that kind of proactive approach to ordering and
is that the way that you guys prefer doing it? Is that, or are you gonna do steps that build it everything?
So it really depends on the project because this method is not great for everybody and it's not great for every project. So I like to compare it to Salem Kaiser, just because Salem Kaiser is a huge district. They have a manual of district standards and project or like material specifications. And so they're very, very precise in what kind of materials that they're going to allow. This method would never work for them because you have to allow for some creativity within the design team. They're not going to just give you poor quality materials, but they're going to flesh out like all of the options. And since that district's not open to all the options they want what they want, period, then this would never work for them. So it kind of just depends. It's not really necessarily a personal preference. It's more what's going to be right for this project.
And is it different for different phases? Like, would we use both of these potentially, or?
Yeah. So you'll use both, not for the different phases as far as design or construction.
No.
But different phases as far as what projects are being
What's being done.
Yeah.
So we may use progressive design build for pieces of our bond work and the other one for pieces.
Yes, exactly. And that's what we're proposing actually, because there are several projects within that were like, yeah, you know what? There's very little risk in doing it and we know exactly what we want. Let's pull it out and do it competitively bid. The other thing that people get worried about with this method is just availability of contractors, and that can be a very valid concern in certain regions of the country. In our region on the West Coast, and especially in the Pacific Northwest, there's a lot of firms out there that can do this delivery method and have experience with it. So that's not as much of a concern. And the great part is because it's qualifications based, you can also insert requirements like X amount of contracts or subcontractors that you need to be local within a certain radius. So that's really nice.
See, we were, in being involved in the building industry, I was involved with many of the schools in Salem with a builder, and that, when we know that there's a special glue gun that takes, 3 months to get, they will go ahead and say, okay, let's order that and get it going. So that is a good process when you want to buy something with large lead times, so you're not holding up the whole project.
And then I think the next slide is just questions. So any other questions that anybody has about either of those methods? And like I said, we don't have it totally ironed out yet, but we're anticipating by the next oversight, we'll have that list to share with you, like, hey, here's the ones that we're gonna do for bid, here's the ones we're gonna do progressive. And then just in full transparency too, so I don't know if you wanna talk about this, but as far as the budgets of we're doing 100%. I'm not sure that I understand what you. So like how for in the tables, the architectural bucket and so
I don't know what
Okay.
to add to that, but.
so at that point, we'll also
Sharing it, we're working on it.
Yeah, at that point, we'll also share with you the initial budget that we're gonna be working with, so that you guys have that way you know. And then it gets into in the racing matrix too, as far as change orders and stuff, so you'll have those initial buckets.
And on these processes, if everything went right, I mean, what is, 2 months to hire an architect, 2 months to bid it, what is the scope? When do you see someone on the job site start to work?
Yeah, so for the hard bid projects, we're pretty close to being able to go out for an RFP for the architects. So we're anticipating having one on board at the very beginning of the year. And then pretty close timeline as well with the progressive design build firm. So again, that's architect and contractor under one, but they would either come on board in January or February. So very beginning of the year, we can get the progressive design build team up and running very, very quickly, and they can tell us what they are going to order. We'll release that material. But we know that the district, there's certain things that have to be done this summer. So one update, right when we got on board, we know that the boilers at Mount Angel Middle School are critical to replace. That design for replacing those is already underway. And we already had a design working meeting with the district. And so that is probably going to get released to order that equipment sooner than everything else. So we're working through all those priorities.
We call it NAMS.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, just it'll help shorten it up.
Like
Mounting
Yes.
I'm just saying, if there's any demolition that needs to be done, I'm sure team bonding helps take down
Sledgehammers.
anything. I'm sure we can get staff to help.
Renovate.
Yeah. We will,
It's never in there, just-
we will help knock stuff down if you guys need.
You guys, there's some
Like a free road.
How do you guys decide all that crap to do? Is it your firm, and how are you deciding on that?
Yeah, we've been working with
Just you guys?
Rachel and Christy and Marty for like structuring. Yeah, Joe has
And
been
Joe.
that's really great input too. So.
Making the plan?
Yeah.
Nice
making the
work.
plan.
It's hard work.
It is, I mean,
That's the hard part right there.
that's what we've been doing for the last, month or two that we've been on board. So,
Well, you got a got a good crew, so.
So, yeah.
Megan's here, already.
No.
This is our first meeting. Question, so you said we're gonna see, so the two things we're gonna see next time, one I know we're gonna see and one I'm asking to see. The one that I think would be of an advantage is if we could clean up for this team to have that list of promises out.
Got it.
Actually, I sent that to Megan and Bob
You did.
last week.
Okay, perfect. So one of the things that worried me, so I was involved in the RFP process and evaluating it to help us get a bond project manager and make sure we're qualified individuals. Rachel's been kind enough to let me in a couple other meetings. But one of the things that was concerning me in some of the discussions was we started talking about adjusting scope, adjusting budget, and in the back of my mind, I started freaking out about, wait a minute, what did we tell everybody? And so one of the things that we did is I went through the entire Mount Angel School District website, and every notable promise that we put in writing, I put in a big, ugly, garbled up list. And I said, okay, here's the bucket of everything we promised. And I said, I would like this cleaned up to be our guidance document for when we make the decisions for things like, I love the windows, it's a prime example. Well, we think we have enough money to do 6 of the 10 windows at JFK. I don't know how many windows there are. But if we go back and we look and we say, we will replace the remaining windows. And so it's like, okay, so like we need that in our brain when we start adjusting stuff. So that was my one request for next week. My other question is, so when you bring the budget, is the budget still based on, because you know my concern about carrying the state forward. So the budget that's coming next month, is that the budget as it stood when the bond was built, or is the budget coming gonna highlight where you guys know we're short and long on funds? Okay, let me rephrase that. So we know we have places we don't have enough money, and we know we have places we have too much money. So the budget that's coming, is it just organized based on what built the bond, and there's no edits made to it yet? Or are you gonna come next month with, here's where we think you're long, and this is where we think you're high, and these are already some places that we'd like to start making some adjustments?
I'm assuming that the work with Cedar Mill is also going to inform.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. We also have a contractor coming on Friday. I'll be walking through all the buildings with them. Because the original estimating that took place was in 2021. And there's been a lot that's happened in the industry between then and now. And there was also some confusion during that process, and some things maybe didn't translate correctly. So there are some scopes that we've identified that we have a very trusted partner in this contractor who we can walk through the building and they'll do a cost estimate, and I know that we can trust their numbers, and Bob knows that too. So that's gonna help inform some of that too, where they can kind of stand and check those numbers. Because between 21 and 23, I mean, just the escalation, the inflation, like everything that's gone way crazy. So we just wanted, there were a couple numbers throughout that were like, oh, we're not sure if that's in alignment. They're gonna help us kind of get a 2023 number on that and see what that looks like. So that'll help inform some of that for sure.
So that was my question, is instead of just starting with what we know is already wrong, if we can start with, here's where it started based on Cedar Mill and OTAC.
Oh, yeah.
This is where we want to move money right now. And so we get that initial yes, because we know we're gonna take money from somewhere to cover a couple of things. And so I would just get started moving the money now, because my concern is where there's budget shortfalls, if we design to the budget and we know there's not enough budget, then we end up in situations where we didn't. And in some cases we can't, because they're soft promises, like critical HVAC updates, well, that could be this much or that could be this much. And then there's the hard stuff, it's like, no, we said this will disappear, and so I just don't want the mistake carried forward.
Any other questions for me?
Okay, well, we're gonna move really quick and do the election of our chair and vice chair. So I guess we'll open it up for nominations for the chair. The chair, did we decide if it would be 1 or 2 years? Is it gonna be 1?
2, I think, is in the
Okay.
charter.
Okay, so 2 years, and then the vice chair obviously would be taking up if something, like they weren't able to be here at a meeting or something like that. So I guess,
Nominate Joe.
I second it.
okay, so Joe and one nomination.
I
Okay,
nominate Bill to be the vice chair.
well, let's do the chair first. Is there any other nominations for chair?
I move nomination.
Okay, so we have one nomination, Joe Fowl for chair. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
Okay. Okay, so, do I leave it open now? Do you take over in terms of, doing the vice chair? Or do you-
I didn't have the racy matrix attached to my
Oh my gosh, okay.
email, so. I'm-
So I will accept nominations for a vice chair.
Maybe we'll start with, is there anybody who has the interest in being the vice chair? Bill, you're getting really short up there.
You wanna do it? Well, next month we have a basketball. I mean, I can do it if.
Sounds good.
Unless you want to do it, John.
There's interest.
Go Bill.
Does someone want to nominate?
I nominate Bill. We all nominate Bill.
Second.
Okay, any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, so all in favor of Bill Schecker as vice chair? Any opposed? All right. So our new chair is Joe Val and vice chair is Bill Schecker.
Thank you, John.
Bill.
Thanks, Joe.
Very much. So our next meeting, we've got a lot more to look at, a lot to discuss. It's January 3rd, it'll be right back here. And I just want to express my gratitude once again for your commitment. This is a long haul commitment, but it's going to be so great. It's going to be so great. I think of the success list and what we're going to be doing. It's awesome. I mean, really awe-inspiring awesome. Thank you very much.
And Rachel, will it still be the same time and here in the library?
Yeah.
Okay.
If there's any one-offs, like if it falls on a
For an
weird day,
hour,
then
yes.
we'll.
People have lives.
I just gotta put it in there, or you guys know.
I showed up at 6.
Thanks, everybody.
I was like running in here.
I also
And then Rachel and
apologize.
Marty, and I was like,
I
I'm so
also
sorry.
apologize for the loud squealing noise, but Megan's.
What is that?
That's it.
We'll
What is
investigate it,
that?
we'll let you know.
Do I need a gavel, Rachel?
No.
Get you one.
No, I have to.
I
Yeah,
know
okay,
where there
I
is
really
one.
thought it was me, so I didn't say anything. Okay, I'm glad. I just-
I know, he definitely didn't want to do it because he doesn't need a gavel.
Between now and next month, let's get together and figure out expectations
Yep.
for meeting.
Absolutely.
You know what, I will treat you because the kids are in
You
there
want to gather,
shivering,
I'll
so
get
cold.
you a
You know,
gavel.
Pete Walls managed to be the mayor of this town without
It's a
a gavel, I
safety
think.
keeper.
And then you have my child who walks in.
Fair
in
enough.
Shorts, I know, your kid's crazy.
I will tell you, I
The kids are warm and fuzzy, because you know, he's somebody who does like the pen, writing pencil code beyond orange, I was like, I just saw you for like a while.
Yeah, we call it his Skittle wardrobe. It's a Skittle